Alright, this is my first attempt at a how-to video, so I've decided on this really crappy rainy day I'm going to go ahead and do some chain maintenance. I went ahead and set out a couple cheap rags, 12mm wrench, Allen wrench. I'm a sissy, so I use rubber gloves when I get in this greasy mess. Chain brush, cheap, awesome tool I've recommended on the blog before. Brake cleaner to wipe off the chain, and the trusty train wax is everything worth its weight in gold there. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the silencer so I get full access to the chain, and then I'm going to try out the new paddock stand that my buddy lent me. I know I've mentioned on the blog before that this is how I do things, because my bike lives on the porch 365 days a year, and I don't have a garage, so you kind of got to do what you got to do to get by. Since this is what I do and I'm not a mechanic, you're free to do what you want to do. These are just tips and tricks from me. So obviously just the cap head screw over here with the Allen wrench, and then the 12mm down here. And that's pretty much it for the silencers. The trick really is getting them off and setting them down without scratching them. And I got that loose, stick my foot underneath, ease off carefully, and just wiggle and twist. Boom, and we're there. Now I just need a safe spot to set down over here to make sure we don't scratch up the chrome. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do the other side. Normally, if I do this by hand, I pretty much just get the chain open, scrub this down, clean it, back the bike up until the whole thing's clean, wax it down and move it forward, and just do this one side. But this time I'm actually going to take the other side off and try out the paddock stand and do it in one spot, see how that goes. That was first time setting up the paddock stand. Let me tell you, that's hair-raising. So now that I got it up there and got the bike in neutral and I actually trust where it's at, I'm pretty much free to spray down some rags and wipe off the chain. Basically, I put a little brake cleaner on the rag, try to get halfway clean spot if I can, and I've started just wiping this down and backing up the chain. Normally, I just do a little section at a time and then push the bike backward, work the next section, and so on. I figured this would actually be a little bit faster, a little bit more effective to have it up on here. If you've been reading the blog, Lord knows I'm talking about the Tiger that I absolutely got to have. One of the big selling points being that the Tiger already comes with a center stand, so I can pretty much get this set up right away on the driveway or wherever I want, change tires or whatever I have to do, not have to sweat with all the other garbage here, since I'm too cheap to buy at least a lift or a jack for now. Alright, I got the first part wiped down for the most part where I like it, so I'm going to go ahead and thread the brush on here. Like I said, you can do this all in one step. We got the brush on, and then you wipe down the chain at the same time, and then just move piece at a time. So if you don't have a stand like I didn't used to have, you can do that. Naturally, my sissy glove got ripped on the end here, so I'm going to reach over in the bucket. I'm going to grab another one. Find that when you walk into the engineering office and your fingers are all black, the boss tends to look at you a little funny, which is probably the #1 reason I do that, beyond the wife frowning at me on the dinner table a little bit. I got the brush on there. I'll go ahead and get the tube on the brake cleaner here. I worry a little bit about whether or not the brake cleaner kind of corrodes the seals, so I'm real delicate just to make sure there's just a little bit on the brush. Like I said, this is probably not the manufacturer's recommended method, but I got over 26,000 miles out of the last chain, and that's how I did it on that one. I've heard guys get over 30,000 miles. Obviously they don't do it this way, but that first seal broke at about 25,000 on the last one, so I just replaced it. But that chain was still in really good shape. Hopefully, at some point, I'm going to weld that chain into a hanger or something for my motorcycle gear, along with turning that sprocket into something cool like a clock or something to hang on my desk, so if I ever get off my butt and stop writing, I'll show you that. I scrubbed the chain how I wanted it. I'm going to pull the brush off here, and this guy's pretty nasty after a lot of use. In fact, again, that's the gloves. Spray down this little torn t-shirt again, go down this guy one more time, and we should be ready for the wax. One of the other big parts I actually left out a minute ago was the grease actually deposits right on the teeth of the sprocket. So this is time consuming, but I take the dirty t-shirt, wipe off really thick stuff first, and then get a clean one, spray it down with a little bit of that brake cleaner, and hit it second time. This is the mistake I made before I started using chain wax, is I had used that traditional, cheap, whatever it was, chain grease, whatever you wanted to buy off the shelf, and it got everywhere, and as the sprocket started to kind of pit with use, all the grease just soaked into it, and it just looked awful. And I mean, different strokes for different folks. Folks want rat bikes and just don't really care, then do your thing. But as much as I love this bike, in the event I ever decide to sell it, I'm sure somebody's not going to want my rat bike. So I'm trying to take care of it the best I can. That's pretty much the easy part, although it's a little tedious. I'm not a big fan of just spraying stuff every which way. Pretty much goes along with what I said a minute ago about trying to keep stuff straightened out. But for the most part, usually when I'm moving the bike, instead of doing it on the stand, take that rag, fold it up a little bit, and actually go basically a little bit of wax on each actual link. The big advantage is going to be here that I can actually get both sides of the link hell of a lot faster than when I move the entire bike, since I have got it on the stand and I can just rotate the wheel as I go. Ultimately, the big thing I'm trying to avoid is all the overspray on that rear wheel, because cleaning that rear wheel is an absolute bear as it is, so I don't need to make it any worse. So I've gone ahead and pretty much hit every link. I even went on the back side and spun it through. Normally, I left that out. I would probably get started. I'd probably go ahead and tighten this chain before I got started, but it's right about at the lower limit right now, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it, at least for this time around. The Speedmasters are really good or really bad to telling you that the chain's out of spec, whether you like it or not, because it tends to slap the swing arm when you downshift and hit a bump hard enough, so it lets you know real quick that it's time to adjust the chain again. This is actually one of my favorite tricks. Before I put the silencers back on, I've got the Mr. Clean Eraser Sponge. And I don't think I have any good examples today, but if you got a couple rust spots, in my case, my wife has a knack for bumping the pipes with her boots when coming to a stop, and I'm actually I'm not so innocent myself. Pretty frequently I have the same issue, but since the silencer's already off, the Mr. Clean Eraser Sponge does a great job of, you know, cleaning up minor grime and junk off the pipes while they're already off without scratching them up. I've accidentally melted a piece of my jacket to the headers before, and after a little time scraping it off with a fingernail and Mr. Clean Eraser Sponge, it was gone completely. So I'm definitely a believer. I don't recommend doing this all the time. I think it's important, especially in the springtime, that you go ahead and use some chrome polish on the pipes to help protect them better, because the Mr. Clean Eraser Sponge is stripping it back. I've actually got a pretty good example with this left silencer. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but I got a little bit of a boot scuff where I must have skidded at a light or something, didn't pick my feet up in time or something like that, or maybe my wife put her feet there. But I keep going over this guy. There it goes. That was the last bit. There's another one down here on the bottom. And boom. Completely gone. And another one. Yep, that's it. Takes it right off. It's a lot faster. Just grab a Mr. Clean Eraser Sponge and a microfiber towel and just wipe down the pipes real fast, and it's going to be for you to get out the chrome polish and the towel and worry about getting chrome polish and nicks and crannies. That's the beef I have with the chrome polish. The same stuff with the aluminum polish. It's like waxing the car. If you miss and you hit paint, oh, it takes forever to get it out. So this is a little bit more efficient. So on is virtually the reverse of off, although this left side is a particular challenge. I go ahead and put these cap screws back in when I'm not using them so I don't lose them, so I pull that back out. I also got to be careful where this this muffler clamp goes, because it tends to fight the kickstand a little bit, so you got to be delicate. Get that guy kind of started in there. There we go. Fighting that guy on there finally. And then that marries up real nice. Cap screw back in there with that washer. Go ahead and tighten that up. And then it's not a big deal to go ahead and tighten the hangers in the back, because even once it's all the way tight, there we go, that's tight, it still wiggles. So you actually got to come up front. And I don't know if you can see because it's dark. Put that that clamp in the right position, and then it's threaded to itself. So I gotta put a little resistance here and get it started. And once it's on there, yeah, so we're good for one hand then. I kind of look at the back, because these are actually kind of spaced, so they look unequal. If you're not careful, you get it all flared out on one side, and you look like an idiot rolling down the road with one silencer all off to one side. So it's pretty solid, so we know we're good there. You'll know if it's not loose. You'll say, wow, man, my exhaust sounds awesome today, because it's not tightened up all the way.